All right, and welcome to another episode of Stay Tuned with Troy and Howie. Another special guest here on board, and Jennifer Espenshade, who is a stand-up comedian. Hey, Jennifer, how's it going?
It's great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
Glad we could connect through Rachel, right? Rachel of Beautiful Divide. And you know her through, you said you work with her brother at the Ren Faire, correct?
At the Renaissance Fair, and her brother Zeb worked with me in the mud pit for many, many years. So thank you, Rachel, for hooking up.
Nice. So when you say the mud pit, now it's been a while since I've been to the Ren Faire. Is that the thing where they swim underneath into a tunnel?
That was a long time. All right, many years ago, we decided that was probably not a safe thing to do anymore.
I would imagine.
I'm going to go in a tunnel that's dark and muddy, and I have no idea where I'm going. What's going to happen? So we got rid of the tunnel. We just had a mud pit. So the mud pit kind of acted as our stage, if you will. And we would just do, funny, goofy shows, 3 shows a day. It's not wrestling.
Wrestling.
Maybe we get into a fight or two, but it really isn't about wrestling. It's just about silly stories and us being mud beggars. Low beneath the queen herself. So that's where that comes from.
Okay.
So we'll talk more about your Ren Faire here a little bit later. I want to get into what you do for a living and how you got involved in it. And first, we can get in. You can see a little bit of your background and where your shows and stuff are by going to jenniferecomedy.com. Also, look you up on Facebook. Is that just under your name, Jennifer Espenshade, on there?
Yeah, I have my maiden name in there, Hartman. But I think if you put in Jennifer Espenshade with a P like Paul, ESP, you'll find me. And I do state, on my Facebook page that I have my website on there, and I am a stand-up comedian and entertainer. So you won't get me confused with anybody else.
Now, you had mentioned you had opened up for Earl David Reed. Now, with that being said, now is that how you got your start? Is he gave you that shot?
That's how I got my start in stand-up, which was about 7 years ago. So I've been doing comedy for over 30 years. And I had actually met Earl way before 7 years ago. I think we were doing some kind of promotion with the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair when he was over in Elizabethtown at the country station.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
He was a DJ. And he had interviewed me. I don't even remember what the show was, but we reconnected 7 years ago. We did a show together. I was asked to do stand-up and open for him, which I did.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he contacted me and said, I'm doing these shows at these different locations. Would you like to do some time? And that's what I would do. I followed him all around the, Susquehanna Valley, at VFWs and fire halls, all kinds of different, venues that he would book.
Sure.
And give me, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's kind of how I got my start to now being out on my own as a professional stand-up. So
How hard was it when he said, hey, you got 10 minutes? You're thinking, 10 minutes, no big deal. But all of a sudden, 10 minutes when you're up there and it's your first time up there, 10 minutes is pretty darn long.
Absolutely a long time. When I'm accustomed to doing shows at the Renaissance Fair with other performers, I'm big on improvisation. I've been doing improv, like I said, over 30 years. But when you're on stage alone, and it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different thing. So you better have your music, better be comfortable on stage, or a nightmare.
Yeah, and I guess I understand, like, when it comes to stand-up comedy, sometimes you have to fail to kind of learn and move forward and such. How do you handle that?
You just move on. And I think my history of improvisation is what helped me with that, because I've made comments on stage during an improv scene and no one laughs, and you just go, well, I'm going to move on from there. and you just have to take it as a learning experience and just realize, all right, that joke didn't work, so let's remember this. And the same thing is with stand-up. I will say things sometimes and no one will laugh, and then the next show I do, the whole audience laughs. So you never know what will work for everybody, and you just kind of roll with it and just have fun. You know, as long as you're having fun on stage, the audience will have fun.
Was stand-up something you've always been interested in, or was it always just kind of improv, acting, entertaining, or no? So you were glad he gave you that shot then?
I was really glad I got that shot. Yeah, I was kind of coerced into it, I guess. A friend of mine, initial show with Earl, she contacted me and said, would you like to do stand-up open for our headliner? And I said, you know, stand-up has been on my list of what I want to do. But now you're kind of making me really think about it. I didn't answer her for months. And she finally contacted me and said, Jennifer, I need an answer. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I did. So glad I did, because it was just kind of the natural progression for me to go from what I do at the Renaissance Fair to now go into stand-up comedy.
Yeah. Now I've noticed too, like when we Troy and I went to see Earl David Reed invited us out to Allen Theater and watch his show, and what I've noticed with like Earl David Reed, he does a lot of improv. You know, he uses the audience, and and trust me, he had plenty to pick from where we were, and it did not come difficult for him when it came to that. Now, do you find yourself doing the same thing, because you know you did improv at the Ren Faire? So, do you find yourself doing that on stage as well?
I do find myself doing that, and I know it was kind of odd at first. I would be out on stage and kind of picking on people, and then Earl would come out, and it was like he'd pick on the same people that, you know, we kind of were drawn to the same things. But yeah, it's definitely something that we both have been, you know, are attracted to kind of working with the crowd. So, you know, for me doing that at the Renaissance for many, many years, I don't have the same jokes, of course, that Earl would have for people.
Right.
Sure.
Definitely drawn to doing a lot of improv. Now, what affects me with that is when I'm doing stand-up in a club and the lights are super bright and I can't see the audience. That's a whole different ball game for me. That's tough when I can't see people or read their faces. So what I've started doing is asking if I can come off stage and even walk out into maybe, you know, kind of a semi-dark room that I can at least there. So,
yeah. Nice.
So when we went to see Earl, like we definitely noticed, and I knew this before going into it, but it's not a very kid-friendly show per se. Where would you say you fall in that category? Same type of area?
Yeah, I'm not. I would say don't bring your kids. You know, even the stand-up that I do out at the Renaissance Fair, we do a night called Full Moon Comedy Fest. I started that with Earl's coaxing probably about 5 years ago. I was hired to do an event in the barn, which is now at the Renaissance Fair, which is their winery. And he said, really talk to the owner about doing stand-up. And I said, okay. He said, this is your home. You've been here forever. And I talked to the owner. He was all for it. And we started to do a monthly stand-up show where I get to bring in other comedians who I've met by being out there and working. So I don't have another show out there in the barn until Friday, November 3rd. They do use the barn for other events, weddings, just the name. I mean, there's
I would imagine summer is pretty hot for them. Yeah, at that venue.
Summer's hot for them. Had a really big time for stand up. Clubs kind of slow down a little bit. People are on vacation.
Yep, makes sense. I guess if you do want to go to places to see, you know, concerts or you know, stand up comedians or whatever, you're probably better off going to some resort or something, you know, down towards the beaches or something, and trying to get hooked, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Signed at a place down, you know, down there. Ocean City, Maryland, that probably is a big one, obviously. But do you get to travel like that a lot and do places outside the state?
I was just in Newport News, Virginia, about 3 weeks ago. I did a club down there, and I've been as far as New York. So I've been doing a lot of more local things. I find myself in Doylestown at the Comedy Cabaret. That owner has been booking me frequently, and I love him for it. He's owned this club for over 30 years.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm happy to be there, and I'm happy that he brings me in.
That's awesome. And I was thinking too, like, what comedian do you kind of emulate yourself after? Like that you would like people to, say, you know what, Jennifer reminds me of this person.
Well, it's funny. I can't really name a female performer.
I was curious.
But my favorite, I have two very favorite male comedians. That would be Kevin James.
Oh.
Wow.
Kevin James performed at Comedy Cabaret in Doylestown. That's where he kind of got his start. So if you go on the website Comedy Cabaret, you'll see a short little video of Kevin thanking Andy, the owner, for bringing him in there. And my other big one is Sebastian Maniscalco, who not many people know about, but he's
I don't know him.
He's doing a movie with Al Pacino, and I just saw him. I don't know, a few years ago. He was up here at Hershey at the Giant Center. I love him. I'm a very physical comedian. I'm not behind the microphone. I'm very active. I use a lot of audience participation, and Sebastian's the same way. He doesn't bring anyone on stage with him, but he's very active in his stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just looked him up. He doesn't look familiar to me. I don't think I've ever seen him, but he almost kind of reminds me of Ray Romano a little bit, like similar type of facial expressions and such.
About his family, he's married to a woman. Her family's like Jewish, and they're very close. His father, there's an Italian from Sicily. I think he talks about. His dad was a barber or hairdresser. So he's one of my favorites. I absolutely adore him. I don't get into a lot of some of the younger female comedians who, I'm very risque and adult oriented in my comedy, but I'm not vulgar with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, give me an example of like what you mean by that.
Well, I'm not dropping the F-bomb.
Okay.
And I'm not using like the scientific terms for our body parts.
Gotcha.
I have other ways to go about that. And, I'm 61 years old. Been there, done that. I'm not going to talk about dating. I do talk about, being married my third time. Talk about my kids. I talk about, I find somebody in the audience and I will compare their life at 28 to me at 61. So that's kind of how I approach that.
That was a good one too. That reminds me too of we were at the when we were at the David show or at Earl's show. I almost said what he said, not to David Earl Reed, right? But there was a couple that was married there. What was it, Howie? 6 months or something like that. And, and then they're like 6 months, and then they saw another couple was across the arena or the theater from him, and they were married like 36 years. And he's like, they've had fights last longer than you guys have been married.
Yeah. And so he loves to do what I love to do, the whole audience connection and, making it up on the spot. I love to do that. So, Earl and I might be similar in that, and I will forever appreciate Earl for what he's done for me. But, the comedy I might do with those people might be different than his, but I do talk about the marriage thing and how long have you been married? And, so we're
you tie it in differently, and you definitely got a different viewpoint and stuff like that. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. I always have to mention whenever we have somebody from the comedy field on here, my favorite comedian, well, I have a couple, but my favorite one of recent memory is Mitch Hedberg. What's your opinion of Mitch Hedberg?
I think he's hysterical. Yeah.
Yeah. just his delivery is so dry and funny. Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, I just love it. And yeah, I just love Mitch Hedberg. And when you were talking earlier and Howie had asked you about, what do you do if you feel like a joke's not connecting or you feel like you might have failed with that joke or whatever. And I feel sometimes like his jokes maybe don't fail, but I think sometimes it goes over their heads and they don't even get it. And he's standing up there and he's like dumbfounded, like, what do I do? And he just kind of moves on to the next one or whatever. But
yeah, you just,
man, I think he was way ahead of his time. I really do.
yeah.
So, so let's get into, first of all, JenniferEdComedy.com. Look her up on Facebook. Jennifer, is it Jennifer Hartman Espenshade or Jennifer Espenshade Hartman? Okay, Jennifer Hartman Espenshade. Okay, and that's with a P, everybody, not the Lancaster spelling that you see down there in Lancaster County. It's a P.
Lancaster County now once.
Ain't with a B, it's with a P. I do a whole thing about the Lancaster County towns that we all know have fun names.
Oh yeah.
All 5-minute thing on how I think they got their names. So
Yeah.
We'd love to hear that. That's pretty interesting. And I said you don't really have anything lined up per se right now. I guess you have a couple. What you said. Did you say, like, I think you said July? You had something kind of booked in July or something? Or...
Well, Doylestown is waiting for my available dates. He's asking me for those. But, usually, like I said, summer's kind of slow.
Yeah.
Headed out west again in September, so I don't really want to book anything. So, and then October, I'm at the Renaissance Fair, so I'm not going to really get super busy until November, December, and then...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, then you brought up the Renaissance Fair again here, so let's talk about that again a little bit. So we mentioned you do improv. What kind of improv are you doing exactly? Is it just like, is it literally just that? Is it you go up there, you have no idea what you're going to do until that moment, and it's just kind of crowd interactions, or what happens there?
Well, I've done improvisation, like I said, over 30 some years. My ex-husband and I had an improv troupe. Which means that we would do shows with specific kind of games. And for that game, you would ask for audience suggestions. You have a setup, like a scene setup, relationship between two people, some kind of disaster that could happen. And then we create a scene based on that, whatever the game is that we're playing. And we make it up on the spot. So that's what I've been doing a really, really long time. Another game that I love to play is, we start our scene and we have for all these shows, you always have someone kind of off on the side as your MC or your referee or whatever you want to call them. And we would start a scene and we would say something like, hand me that piece of toast and blow a whistle. Now I have to change it, what I just said. Hand me that screwdriver. They blow the whistle.
Yep.
Up with it, and then whatever that last thing is that they finally stop blowing the whistle, then you move on in the scene with that suggestion. So it's that kind of thing. It's you might have what kind of games you're playing and what the setup is, but you have no idea what the audience will give you and where it's going to go. That's actually it's stand up because I bring people on stage with me and I never know what I'm going to get from them or how they're going to react. So that's what makes my stand-up shows always different because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm kind of in everything by bringing people on stage with me.
When you're describing that, it very much reminds me of like Whose Line Is It Anyway?
That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Troy, because when she was starting to talk about that, I wondered, like, how do you feel like you would do with that show? Whose line is it anyway?
I would love it.
Yeah.
There are some rules to stand up or rules to improv that I've been taught. And the guys on Whose Line Is It Anyway don't always follow those rules. I've also taught improvisation at Open Stage in Harrisburg. Many, many years ago. But those guys they know each other so well. They know how they think. Not bull what you're watching. It is legit improv. They're not rehearsing anything. They are that good and they can read each other that well that they don't have to rehearse. So
Was that a show that you watched a lot?
Oh, I love. Oh,
Yeah. So who were some of your favorite actors on that show, or entertainers? I guess we could call them.
Styles and Colin McRae.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say those two were probably my favorite too as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, his name right now. Oh, my brain.
Greg.
I hate to say
Greg Brady.
No, Greg. Is it Greg Prost or Greg?
Oh.
Are you talking to Wayne?
Wayne Brady.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yes, Wayne Brady.
Greg Brady.
Yeah, and he's going on to do well for himself now. Hosting, what is he hosting?
He hosts a lot.
Yeah, but what's the main show?
Yeah.
Deal or No Deal. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That kind of brings an interesting thought to my head here when we're talking about whose line it is it anyway. How cool would it be if you, Earl David Reed, and maybe another comedian kind of did like a Central Pennsylvania version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? That would be funny. I can see both of you doing well at that, just based on your experiences and obviously what we've seen out of Earl.
It would be amazing, and Earl and I should probably talk about that.
You should.
So, like I told you earlier, when he interviewed me at the radio station, when he was on the country station in Elizabeth.
Yeah, Cat Country, yeah.
Country, I told him at that point that I had been doing a lot of improv, and he said, "Oh, well, maybe we should get together and do a show." It never happened, so we should do that.
Let's
so it's
get
time
on
to make
that.
up on that 7. Well, that was over 7 years ago because he was at the X. I think he went there in like 06.
Yeah,
I'm
thinking maybe. Oh my gosh, it must have been late 90s.
Oh wow, he owes you then. I mean, it's time.
So we need.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead, Howie.
Oh, I was just going to say, not only does he owe you, but I can see maybe started out doing it as a benefit for something. That way you get a big audience to show up the first time. And then once they see what you guys are capable of doing chemistry wise, boom, you just landed yourself a regular gig working together.
Good. Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Well, let's get this set up. Earl, we're going to be in contact with you.
That's right.
Well, I think that would be an awesome idea. I really do. That's pretty cool that you thought of that, Howie. I don't know who else you know from the area. Obviously, you know people from working at the Ren Faire that could probably get in on it. But any other comedians and stuff that would get on it, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy that we saw open for Earl David Reed that you also said that you got to know kind of when he was getting his start was it Bobby Tamboro? Is that how you say his last name? Is that right?
I don't know how Bobby is with improv. I've never.
Yeah.
So yeah. I
don't know. He very, very talented guy. I was very impressed by his opening act. I guess he does some production and stuff. I think he goes up to New York like every week or whatever and does some production for podcasts and stuff. So that was really cool to hear. And we'll be having him on in a couple weeks as well. So maybe we can put something in his ear as well. Who knows?
The new Stay Tuned, Whose Line Is It Anyway?
What, are we going to be like the main sponsor, Howie?
Yeah, why not? You had mentioned, Jennifer, that you're 61 years old, and it always amazes me because Earl David Reed, his age too. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, Jennifer, you don't look nearly that age. You still look honestly, you look great. And I always say the same thing about Earl David Reed too. It's like, man, I never would have guessed him either.
You're older than I
am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's simply amazing. Like, I don't know if it's, what do they say? It's the more you smile, it's easier to smile. You get less wrinkles or whatever if you smile instead of frowning or whatever that is. So,
it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile, is what they say.
The whole black don't crack thing. I don't know. I can't.
Well, he actually addressed that with us, the black don't crack thing, and his response was, my relatives are some of the ugliest people in the world, so that's not a real reason.
I didn't realize. Yeah, I mean, Earl shared some things with us too about like his weight journey and stuff like that. I didn't realize that he had really gained a lot of weight at one point. I wasn't following him that closely, and good for him, man. He's looking great. He's in great shape. So it's, I don't know. It's just, keep up after yourself a little bit, and it won't age you. What are we at now here? Everybody keeps saying 60 is the new 30 or whatever. Like age just keeps. I mean, it's crazy. Like age just, people are living longer, and enjoy the time while we're here. Have fun, laugh, and live it up. Go to jenniferecomedy.com and see where she's playing and get some laughs, right?
Absolutely. And just, be amazed by the fact that for 27 years, I jumped in a mud pit at the Renaissance Fair, August until the end of October. So I am no sissy.
that you know what? You just brought something else up. That probably helped with your aging process as well, going into
the mud.
People used to say, don't we have to pay money to have a mud bath? And I'm like, yeah, you're paying to watch me jump in this mud. I mean,
yep.
Certainly not the mud from the Hershey Hotel. But
little different quality, huh?
Yeah, different quality. But my joke always was, yes, I do mud shows, I get covered in mud, and I'm actually 93 years old.
That's too great.
So, what I see you have some merch on here. How does do you have somebody that deals with your merch? Do you deal with that directly? How's that work for you?
I deal with it right now. Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody puts an order in, typically how would you handle that? Do you kind of just send them out one by one, or do you kind of wait till you get a bunch and send them out? Or
no, I sell merchandise at my shows. So when they can buy, I bring my T-shirts with me. My next plan is I want to get onto Etsy and some other out there, so I can sell some other stuff with with my saying on there. But yeah, that's where
I was just going to ask you, what exactly does that mean?
Oh, you mean fupa?
Yeah.
You have to come to a show to find out what that is.
Okay. All right. We're not going to give it away then, I guess. But I know a really good friend of mine. His number one favorite movie of all time is Fight Club, and I see you kind of stole the lettering there from that a little bit. So
I stole the font. Font. But yes, my Fupa Fight Club, and then I put I have two different sayings on the back of the shirt along with my website. So yes, I sell them at my shows.
See, F the FUPA and fighting the FUPA, one sit up at a time.
Which you have to witness my exercise for fighting the FUPA with sit-ups. It's a whole.
All right. We'll take your word for that. We got it. We'll have to come see that for ourselves. And then you also have the one where you're in prison here, behind bars, uncaged, middle age, and on stage. So
yeah, that was the first shirt that I sold. So I've moved on to my FUPA shirts. I still have some of that original one, but that picture taken of me behind the railing of my steps on my front deck was taken by Bill's girlfriend.
Really? Isn't that something else? Yeah, I love that picture. It looks funny, and I see the railing in the background now, so that kind of makes sense. But before you said that, I wouldn't have even noticed that. I would have thought it was literally some sort of bars or some sort of jail cell.
I haven't been there yet. So
yet, is that a goal?
No, it's not a goal. Hopefully, it won't happen. I'm doing a private show next May. I've already been booked for a private show with the Women's Club of Myerstown.
Oh my!
Oh, that's right in our neck of the woods.
What's that?
I said that's right in our neck of the woods.
It is, but it cracks me up because I'm kicking it up a notch. I'm going to be at the Hebron Fire Company at a private.
The Hebron is that Hebron? Which one's Hebron House? Oh, that's the one right. Oh, that's the one right down by my house here. That's the one right across from the Lebanon County Prison.
Yes. See.
Yeah.
So if they don't like me, they can
shoot you right over.
Me over there.
So I'm just curious because what does your audience look like when it comes to like the women of Myerstown? I'm just thinking a bunch of Mennonite women who are going to be sitting in your audience.
Well, I'm hoping that doesn't happen because They heard about me. So you know the magazine, that Go Local magazine?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had an article in that last August written by Jeff Falk.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So he did a whole, 3 pages of me and pictures of me as a performer. And evidently someone at the Women's Club in Myerstown saw that article and suggested they contact me. And I'm figuring, okay, you may not know what you're in for, but I'll do my best to entertain you ladies next May. So I'll probably do some, different material or write some.
Sure. Now, that kind of brings up an interesting point. Will you cater your stand-up based on the audience?
Yes, I can do that. Absolutely.
Okay, so you can go cleaner if you had to?
I can't really say I'm not clean. Like I said, I'm not dropping the F-bomb, but my material currently is more adult-oriented and more sexual in nature. I'm certainly not someone who is going to do a children's birthday party.
Gotcha.
Won't be me. I could do college, I could do, that kind of thing, but I'm really not a comedian for kids or family. So, right now I don't really have a 20-minute set. The way I look at it, I don't have a 20-minute set to do in front of none. So when I can pass the nun stage, then I know I'll be ready for TV.
All right. So I'm gonna promote your stuff here one more time. JenniferEcomedy.com and Jennifer Hartman Espenshade with a P on Facebook. Look her up and get in touch with her if you want to book her. Whatever you're trying to do, please look it up. Look at her merch that she has on there. See where she's going to be. She'll be at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair the end of October. Just that first weekend she won't be there, but then every other weekend after that till the end of October she'll be there.
No. 4 weekends.
The 4.
Just the last 4 weekends.
Right, yeah. So you won't be that first weekend in October, and then the last 4. So yeah.
4, and I'm not as Jennifer. I'm there as my character.
Correct. Not there as your comedian. Correct. Your comedian self. Yes. Gotcha. You're playing a different character that day.
I'm Ploppy.
What was the name?
Ploppy. Ploppy. Ploppy.
Ploppy.
I don't do stand up as Ploppy.
Interesting. Ploppy. Okay.
Yes. That's who I was in the mud pit. Ploppy Ann, Nard Squatter, Ploppy in the mud, for 20 some years. And at the Renaissance Fair, I do my Ploppy show the last 4 weekends. It's not me doing my regular stand-up that I do at comedy clubs. So it's me as a character. It's a whole different adult comedy show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And is that actually, you get to be part of that show, you get to watch that show just by purchasing tickets for the fair, or is that a separate ticket purchase once you're in there?
No, you buy a ticket to come into the fair and all the shows are free.
Gotcha.
Get to come.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
I wasn't exactly sure how that worked. The last time I was there in 8th grade, and that was the last time our high school was allowed to go there. So.
Oh my gosh.
You feel older? That's what
No lie though, I do want to take the kids because I think it is a pretty cool experience. It really is. I don't know why we just keep pushing it off every year. It's probably because of the price. It's kind of a little expensive, but
How old are your kids?
But what was that?
How old are your kids?
So my stepson is my oldest. He's 21, and then I got a 14, an 11, and an 8. So.
Okay, 21-year-old can come to the show.
Right.
Yeah. Probably should not.
Is there a sign stating that right there, like when they walk into that?
On the schedule of shows, they'll have like different little, I don't know what they call them, but
Disclaimers.
Yeah, just saying that it's an adult show. And when I start my show, I tell people that it's an adult show. Although,
gotcha.
14-year-old tried to come on stage and play one of my interactive games last year, which was I got rid of him really quickly, but
so you could have been behind bars.
I didn't know how old he was. Thank goodness I asked.
Well, when we were at Earl's show, the grandmother and grandfather brought their 13-year-old granddaughter. So,
so I say to parents, this is an adult show. if your children are here and they're laughing, congratulations to you.
If they're here and they're laughing, we might want to question your parenting.
Shut your bedroom door.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so this was all just a ploy and a plot. I got to admit that, Jennifer. I wanted to get you on here for one specific reason, right? And it's your hot take that you had on not only Taylor Swift, but Ed Sheeran. Like, so let's hear it. What is your hot take here? Let's hear it.
Oh, I don't get that whole Ed Sheeran. I think he's a great guy. He's adorable with his little hair, going over. But I don't know. I love that he writes his own stuff, but he's a little too much for me. I need more of a band. I need a band. And it's like Taylor Swift. I love that Taylor grew up in West Reading, but Taylor, I love you as a person, but I'm not really into your music. Like I'm a 70s girl.
So it's nothing personal. You think it might just be an era thing then?
I'll never go. No, I don't know. No, there are solo people that I like, but I don't know. I'm just not. But you like him. You're into him.
I wouldn't say that I'm into him. I would say that I appreciate what he does. I like his music. I appreciate his background, and he grew up with a really bad stuttering problem. Yeah. And you've seen that a few times. Like you've seen those stories on American Idols and The Voice and stuff like that, where people have terrible stuttering problems just talking, and all of a sudden they get up there and perform, and you would have no idea. Like so. And then the other cool thing is like Taylor Swift is the one that gave him his big break.
Yeah.
So I think she heard him performing on a radio station or something like that, and then so I don't remember the whole story exactly, but I think it's kind of cool that they tied in together.
But she's able to do that, and she's able, where she is now, she's able to give him that opportunity.
Yeah, and he's taken off with it. I mean,
yeah.
And I think there's one thing you can't deny, and I go on another show with a couple other guys. It's a Dads with Bacon podcast that we do, and we were talking about the one night about Taylor Swift, and like. She's 33 years old, right? And she's a legend. Like she's a legend in the music industry. It's amazing. I mean, like her following is absolutely incredible. What she sells out my daughter could not get tickets to her show when they were down in Philly. And they stood outside the stadium with like 20,000 other people just listening to her.
But like remember, I grew up like with Madonna. We didn't have all this social stuff. So they were able to out these places. Just from the radio, there was no social media for us growing up. So, she has that going for her, and, as do all the other musicians and these people who come out of the woodwork and they're suddenly on TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything has happened with stand-up comedy. They're funny on TikTok, but can they be funny for 30 minutes on a stage in a theater? I don't know.
Yeah. I've seen two guys recently that have really blew up in the comedy industry through social media that are coming to my head just off the top of my head. And that's Andrew Schultz and Matt Rife.
Right. They're everywhere now.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's kind of funny, too, because I think both of them guys, very similar. I think that's the new stand-up method. I really do. Like what you're talking about with the improv and like you just kind of go off your audience and you just feed off of them and whatever comes up, comes up. Like there's really not a plan when you walk into it.
But it's been, what Earl does. I mean, Earl may have some set jokes to do with people, but he's also big on improv with the audience. So, Earl and I kind of came up without TikTok being there for us.
Right.
Or just even to be able, I mean, now at this point, we can do a show, record it, and we can throw a snippet of it onto TikTok. I can do that. I haven't.
Sure.
And, but I don't know what the sudden or both of those guys is.
Well, I think all the girls are all gaga over Matt Rife's looks right now. I mean, that's
okay.
No, you're not feeling it?
I'm not feeling it. Sorry.
It's funny that you kind of alluded to this, but like Earl David Reed, when he was mentioning some of the stand-up comedians, he's not a huge fan of. In fact, he mentioned one specifically, and he's kind of a local guy that kind of annoys him based on the way he sells himself on stage. And that guy is Raymond, the Amish comic. And like, do you have anybody in that realm where you're like, man, I don't know, they're just making a bad name for stand-up comedy?
I really don't. I know Raymond has been out there forever. I mean, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was doing improv shows, we were booked at a comedy club in Lancaster. And we went on to do improv after Raymond the Amish comic was there. So it was really tough for us to do improv after a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Audience to like sit up out of their chair and give you suggestions. But I don't know. He's been around. I don't know.
I don't know what it was there. I think there was a bad interaction at one point, I think is what happened. And I think kind of Earl still kind of holds that. Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Raymond might have kind of thought he was bigger than he might have been at that point. And
no, actually, I think what it was Raymond. He would take shows and accept very little money, making it difficult for him to get a decent payday as a result, because they're paying him such little money and he's saying yes to it. And then when it comes time to him, for Earl to go on stage, he's demanding this money. And now all of a sudden, like, now we'll just get the Amish comic guy.
People need to understand that we're all different comedians.
Sure.
Apples and oranges. You want to pay this amount, you're going to get this. You pay this amount, you're going to get, a different show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever rubbed elbows with anybody of any popular fame in the comedy field?
How much fame are we talking?
Oh, whatever. I mean,
Oh no, I mean, I've worked with a lot of people over these last few years that have were working constantly working professional comedians.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I haven't been on stage with anybody that I would love to be on stage with.
Like Kevin James.
Yeah, like Kevin James. Oh.
Yeah, what you said that was at the Comedy Cabaret, right? Did nobody's ever popped in there? Kind of like you hear stories of that sometimes. Like usually it's at bigger venues.
And I've never been in New York when Jerry Seinfeld comes walking in, because I would love for that to happen to me.
Yeah.
That's been doing this forever and ever. To pop in while I'm on stage, I would love it. I would think.
And typically, what'll happen there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they just kind of pop in, and if they're working on new material or something, they just want to kind of get a vibe of how it's going to go off and how they can present it, stuff like that. And that's typically what they do, right? Yeah. So
them at that level, the ability to walk into a club and you're that well known and be able to say, I have some new stuff, I want to try it out. Let me do 10 minutes.
Yeah. What it is, I can't think of the name of the place. It's really popular up there. What is it?
Caroline's?
Well, okay, well, that's one of them, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. That's the Laugh Zone or something like that, or the Laugh Factory. Is that it?
In New York?
Yeah, well, is that not in New York? Where's that at?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's in LA or not.
And maybe it is. Maybe it is out on the West Coast.
Could be. And, the Improv.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, which we got to find out that Earl actually was a host there for a while.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, like, have you ever considered trying out for one of those shows where the last standing comic or something?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
when you say not yet, are you
out yet?
Yeah.
Because my material is still, more comedy club and,
Yeah.
I'm not yet a television performer. I'm not Ellen DeGeneres with my, kind of. I don't think my material yet is for television. It would have to be a, like Netflix.
Okay.
Or, another channel, that kind of thing. That I can do. But I'm not going to see your CBS or anything like that. I think they would be like, oh my God, get her off.
Not only can I see you and Earl doing like a last, whose line is it anyway, but I can also see you guys doing a sitcom where you're husband and wife, and
That would be pretty good. That would be good.
Okay, well, Earl and tell him that's what you think, and I'm there.
We'll work on that. We're going to work on a lot of things for you. And when this is all said and done and the dust settles, I want Troy and I to be your agent because we're going to make these things happen.
Do it.
The one I was thinking of is actually on the West Coast. It's the Comedy Store. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Comedy Store. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
isn't that the one that's owned by Pauly Shore's family?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of times where people just pop in there last minute and have something they want to perform or whatever.
I've never gone out west. Haven't been out there yet.
Well, we need to change that. When you go on Last Comic Standing, right? All right. So yeah, let's wrap things up here. We got Jennifer Hartman Espenshade on Facebook, JenniferEComedy.com. Espenshade, if you're looking it up, if you're typing it in, it's with a P, and it's not the B spelling that most people in Lancaster County have. And you can check her out on the website and find out where she's going to be. And she also performs as Ploppy at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, and that'll be the last 4 weekends in October. So go ahead and check her out there as well. So, Jennifer, anything else you want to add before we let you go?
A Lebanon County person. I grew up here. I'm a graduate, so.
Okay.
My home.
Okay, so wait, that's going to put you right around. So this is going to be really weird. But did you graduate with Frank Reich with his class?
Yes, Frank was in.
Yeah, because I believe my mother was in that class as well, and we could talk about that off air. But I'm pretty sure she was in that class as well. So.
Yep, Frank was in my class.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so we're gonna let you go. Like I said, is there anything else that you want to push out there before we let you go?
No, thank you. And people come.
Yeah.
I mean, keep up with my website. I do keep my shows on there. Once I get busy again in the fall, come out and see a show.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a pleasure talking with you. Thanks again, Jennifer.
Thank you.